All right, guys, I want to get to a real important piece of our mechanics, the single side, and you're going to hear me really talk about how the single side really fits our mechanics together. All right, as a single, you're a Swiss Army knife, and you got to be able to do a lot of different functions. Our mechanics manual goes through a bunch of that, but I kind of want to summarize all of the things the single does and how important you are and how important your positioning is related to your partners, in particular the lead, and again, trail, how we can be a good trail to help out our lead and single. Next slide, please. So single side, critical to the success of the mechanics of the crew. Again, being able to fit and make our mechanics correct depending on where the ball is and being able to fit into the best position. You got to be able to control the face-offs. All right, that's your first charge starting a game. At times you become a trail in transition because the trail's taking care of substitution. So you got to stay on that shooter and make sure that he's protected the whole way. So we're kind of doing two-man mechanics for a little while. Sometimes you got to become the lead when the lead gets pushed out. You got to control the middle of the field. Got turnovers. You're primary on restarts between the restraining lines. All sides, looking at the count when we're in transition. So you got a lot to do and really important to the success of the crew. Next slide. Okay, transition. Really want you to think about going with the flow of the ball. So if you're coming up towards the cone of midfield, you're counting guys, it makes no sense to cross the midfield line if the ball hasn't crossed the midfield line. So you want to anchor there until the ball goes. Now, one recommendation I will give you is I think you need to be on one side or the other of the midfield line to help you with your count. Not always just right down that line. And that kind of holds true when we're the lead covering the goal. If we're right on that goal line, now we got stuff in our way. So just maybe a step to either side. I found a lot of success with that. So really kind of the go with the flow guy, as that ball crosses midfield, again, stay kind of where the ball is. Don't run down to be right near the goal crease if the ball's all the way up top and your trail is still counting, taking care of substitutions and doing that stuff. So as the ball enters below the restraining line, that's kind of when we want to match up with that and fit. So think about in transition, we're a go with the flow. If that transition's fast, we may not hit the cone. We're going to go with the ball and keep going and getting in our position. Next slide, please. Single on the face-off, we know this very well. Again, you have control. Sideline's the one thing that's tough for us to get to, but that's not our primary. You're setting the tone. You're the speaker. As all this happens, the helper is there to help. But you really are setting the tone for the face-off, and you're trying to match your partner's patterns just as far as keeping the sticks up above their knees, letting them know when they hit the ground, that's their set position, and they only adjust if you tell them to adjust, and then you're giving them that regular cadence. So again, understanding you're the big control guy on the face-offs, and for us to be successful, that single's got to do a really good job. Next slide. Okay, restarts between the restraining lines. This is you single, except for when the ball, maybe we have a backcourt near the bench area, or we had it out of bounds near the bench area. This is where we need the lead to come up to take control. But in most cases, this is where the single side's restarting, a technical foul, anything out of bounds on your sidelines, any of those things. And the key with this restart, between the restraining line, these plays, these end up being goals. A restart on the defensive half or a quick restart on the offensive half don't normally end up being goals. It's this start between the restraining lines that leads to transition, that leads to beautiful goals. Again, we want to be quick, but not on fire. We don't want to end up causing a delay a game with a guy that's really close. Give him a second to bail before we restart. But a good pace right here, you can have a positive impact on the game by a great restart. Next slide. Okay, post-goal responsibilities. Single side guy does not need to be in a hurry because you're not facing off. So just take a step in. Don't run and get between people, because the closer you get, the less you see. But be in that area and be able to monitor. If you're on the right side, you're becoming the trail, so you're definitely not in a hurry. If you're on the left side, you're becoming the helper. So again, make sure everything is good. Now trail, when that single is becoming the helper, as you're going to your right position, make sure you're watching all the people on the field. That way, that single side guy transitioning to be the helper can get up to his spot, but he can't leave if you're not watching players. He's going to have to stay there if you're not watching players. So please watch so he can transition to his spot. Next slide. All right, over these next 4 or 5 slides, our blue dot represents where the ball is, and I've kind of put us in places where we need to think about being. So if the ball is on the bench area, somewhere near goal line extended, the lead's going to get pushed out. The lead may choose to get under the play, which is something I like to do to be able to look up the field and see. I don't like getting pushed out to the sidelines because I have the trail there to be able to help me out. In this situation, the single needs to be able to come down. Doesn't mean you need to be on the goal line. You can still be up above the top of the crease and be ready to cover the goal. The good thing about this, you can fit tighter because as the ball is near this bench area, the offense and defense slides over and creates a great hole for you to fit in. It's not as bad as 7 and 8 soccer where everybody follows the ball, but it really opens up a nice hole for you to fit in. Next slide. Okay, the ball's in the corner. Again, your lead may decide on this restart that I'm going to get all the way out to the sidelines or I'm going to be underneath the play. And again, just like when the ball is outside near the alley, we need to get down maybe a little bit lower in this situation to be able to cover the goal because our lead's going to get pushed to the end line. So he's got a lot of ground to cover and we need to be able to cover that well. And you can see we have our trail closer to the sideline because again, main boundary and to be able to support the lead with this restart. All right, next slide. Okay, real important thing here. I just put trail drifting. This is a time we don't need the trail to drift. Just because the ball's in that far corner near the single, we don't need to have the trail get over there. Single side, if we had a shot on the end line, more than likely your lead should be pointing to you to take this because the ball's in the alley so the lead can work to get closer to the goal, but can't be on the goal line. Needs to be back behind the goal to be able to cover the end line. If we end up having a double team, we have picking situations going on, but this is a great time for our single side to move out wide and restart the ball. If you notice on my slides, this is the only time I have the single side guy in the alley. One of the things as I observe games, whether it's on TV or going to games, I'm seeing we have a tendency to stay in this alley too long and the ball might be bench side. Well, we can't help on the goal if we're in the alley. We're way too wide and kind of the opposite. And guys, sometimes it's trail that tend to get too close to the restraining line tend to be too wide as single. Polar opposite of what we want. We want you a little further away as a trail so you can have big picture and a little bit closer as a single so you can really help the trail. We got to be able to see the crease. We got to be able to see how that guy got in the goal mouth. We got to be able to see if we have a reset or was it deflected off a defender. And you can't do that in the alley. So you got to be closer to the play. Next slide, please. Okay, single when the ball's at X. You really have to partner mirror, and this is where the lead and single are almost complementing one another where they are. Not just because I was a football coach, but a lot of times I love when there's hash marks on the field because when the ball is closer to the crease, whether I'm the single or lead, that's where I try to get to because that puts me in a really good position to see what I need to see. But when the ball's at X, I need to complement the lead by being in a similar mirrored position to be able to react to how this ball goes. If it comes to my side, I tend to swing under so I can see the feet as they come up towards the crease. If I'm over top, I worry about getting screened, but that's a comfort zone for me. And then I know the lead's going to be there to take the goal line. If it goes to the lead, again, I'm ready for feet once he gets up above the goal line. So to emphasize again, if the ball comes to my side as a single, I have feet until he gets above goal line extended because my lead cannot see through the goal. And then I'm helping with pushes and all those other things. That's why I want to follow the ball and be in a good position. Next slide. A single, the ball gets up towards the top of the restraining line. The trail gets pushed out, and because the ball is at the restraining line, the trail is getting a little bit deeper. The lead's in his position, but because it's bench side, I want to sink in to be able to help on that diagonal pass, anything that's going to happen in that vicinity because my leads got pushed out a little bit more. So again, as that ball flows, or we get a ball that moves up on a potential back court, I don't really want to hang out and be at the top of the crease. I want to start moving up towards that restraining line, one, to be ready for reset. I want to be able to verbally and physically communicate with my trail, hey, I got it safe, I have a deflection, all that stuff, or I'm signaling it's back court. That way he can really have that call and I can support, and then I'll be in a really good position to restart the play where I can set my feet on the restart, not be a sprinter trying to restart. Okay, I want to try to set my feet on that restart. Next slide.